In this video, we're going to walk through Surfboard and what you get when you invest in Surfboard. It is quite the stack and it will produce a great set of design documents in just a few minutes. Just a few tweaks, you'll be able to send it out the door. So let's walk through Surfboard and what all it entails. First off, there's a couple things with Surfboard. One is all the systems that you can populate your content throughout your Revit model. So one is that there needs to be just one link or no links loaded into your model. So just the architectural link. It will then populate all of your room names throughout the project. So long as the architectural model has, ceilings, walls, floors, doors, and all these room names populated, everything will work as shown here. The other thing to note as we go through this is that basically every unique room name is going to be on its own line. So cafeteria versus cafeteria. And then like all the instruction rooms are grouped together. All the electrical rooms are grouped together. But if for some reason, like restroom is RR or R.R or men or men's, those will each be on their own unique line. So important to note as we go through this, and this is the settings and how things will appear on each of these tabs as we go through the project. So let's go into lights. First off, with lights, we're gonna, and as with all the rest of the content that we're going to load, it is coming off of your hard drive or server. This is not coming out of the template file. This is all from the hard drive and or server. With lighting, we are using the lumen method, so even illumination across the work plane. And so we have the ability to put in our work plane height here, and that'll default throughout. You can change it for like corridors and other room types. You can edit your lumen values, and this is how all these are going to get calculated throughout. The coefficient of utilization, this is going to be from your fixture cut sheet, and that 80, 50, 20 for all your reflectance values for ceilings, walls, and floors. Instead of having to go through and input those for each and every space in your Revit model, you're going to do it once, and that'll cover it. Then you can update your coefficient utilization values, your CU values here on the right side for each different room type. If one room type is going to be, darker or lighter than the rest. So we'll go ahead and put these in. And again, these are going to come off of your fixture cut sheet. So from here, we'll be able to then select different fixture types. So if in our instruction rooms, we want to put, maybe a just different type of fixture. Conference rooms, we can put, this is a linear 2x4. So whatever types that you have built in your model, you can put them in here, update those lumen values. You can also within like your corridors, if you need a different lighting value, right? If you don't want 40-foot candles, if you want 30 or 20, whatever it might be for any given room, it'll do that. And then the fixtures are all going to be on a 2-foot offset. So they'll do a 2-foot on center spacing to the even, basically an even number. So 8, 10, 12 feet apart on center is how these are going to be spaced in your project. So that is lighting. We'll move to receptacles. For receptacles, we'll have a couple different ways to populate it. Again, loaded from the server, the standard type, default number per wall, and go ahead and put those in. Next is 6 inches from the door. So you can either do quantity per wall, which will evenly space the outlets along the wall, or it will populate them, 6 inches from the door or perimeter spacing. So this is the other option, 6 feet from the door and then 12 feet like on center around the rest of the room, or, like in our conference room, if we want to do the same thing here, maybe 6 feet and 6 feet that we have just a ton that we want to put in around the rest of the room. For corridors, I recommend 1 per wall, just in how Revit splits walls for, the adjoining room and the bisection of the corridor wall with the adjoining rooms. So that usually fits best. It'll be close to 25 feet typically on center, but just how Revit splits those walls and the bisection of them is, one per wall is going to be pretty close for you. So again, we can choose different types here, choose different placement strategies for each one. And we can do that here for our restrooms as well. And then the GFCIs, you'll see this when we cut some sections, but these are a 4-foot offset. So those will be 4 foot above finished floor. And then the standard outlets are at 18 inches. So whatever the default height within your families, those will be placed in there as well. Switches, again, loaded from the family, and then we can select how many that we want at, each door. So maybe, in our instruction rooms, we want 2 at each door. Electrical, again, maybe we just want a single switch in here. In the men's, our occupancy sensor, same in the other restrooms. Just want a wall mounted aux sensor. So this is going to put one device right next to the door, and that'll allow us to have that in here as well. So you just leave this as a single switch. Again, you go through and you're doing a lot of design decisions here up front rather than dealing with them later. So again, our occupancy sensors, you have a coverage diameter. So for any different types of aux sensors that you might have, you place those with the different coverage diameters for those devices. And then we don't need one in the electrical room. We'll leave them in the corridors. And then the restrooms we took out. We're going to put those in the fixtures. So here we go. Again, making our design decisions as we go. Smoke detectors. Again, for whatever rooms that you might need to put smoke detectors in, that's in here. It's embedded for a 30-foot diameter for all the placement of those. Electrical panels, again, we're just putting a couple families into the project. We'll just put, a couple electrical panels in each electrical room. Again, we'll still need to circuit them. We're going to need to apply a distribution system to them, name them, all the other good things that we do to our electrical panels. This is just placing the content for you so that you don't have to worry about that. Wall horn strobes, again, any other notification device, basically, whatever this might be. So you insert your family, however that looks for you. If you just got one family and then you go through and adjust as you go, this is going to put one horn strobe device or notification device on the center of the door wall. So if there are multiple doors coming into that room, there'll be multiple horn strobes or whatever your fire alarm family is going to be put in there. I'll uncheck corridors and vestibules and lobbies, and we'll put our ceiling mounted horn strobes in these areas. So again, these are 25 feet on center for the ceiling mounted horn strobes. So corridor, lobby, and vestibule. And then we'll go ahead and run everything. Again, this is going to populate all this content throughout your model, allowing you to quickly, easily get an 80 to 90% design document set, some adjustments, some review, and then you can ultimately talk to the architects, other disciplines, owner, and get some feedback on your initial layouts and then go from there. So we'll give this a few minutes to run and we'll be right back. And there you have it. We've got, 600 lights, 500 receptacles, all this content placed throughout the models. So let's check it out. Now, one other thing that comes with Surfboard is going to be sheets made simple. So in this project, there's nothing loaded. And so we need a power plan, right? So let's create a power plan. We're going to go ahead and create all of our power plans. It's a floor plan. Call this E 2.1. We'll add a top legend. We'll create dependent views. We'll tag all the rooms and we'll give our offset from the top right corner. And then we need a lighting plan. So let's go ahead and create our lighting plan, electrical ceiling plan, and then E 3.1. Again, whatever your series numbers are, you can put those in here. So we'll go ahead and create those. And then, yeah, that'll be it for this. And we'll go ahead and run this. And this will create all of our views, sheets, name and number, everything. So we can take a look at what's going on. So we'll go ahead and run this, and then we'll check back in. All right, so our 16 views and sheets were created because we have 4 levels, 2 scope boxes. So that's 8 views and sheets per sheet series. So here are all of our sheets, right? E2, E3. And we can take a look at these. All of our rooms ultimately got tagged, which is pretty cool. And then our view templates got applied, which is also pretty sweet. And then all of these are dependent views as well, meaning that we don't have to go through that tedious process of setting up all the dependent views that are in the project. So let's take a look at the lighting that we put in for using Surfboard. So with lighting, we're centered the lights, within the space. So you can see a slight offset here in the corridor because of this bump out here that we have within the corridor space. So these are slightly off-centered due to these, kind of big alcoves. And then we have 3 different fixture types, right? We have our non-emergency fixture, emergency fixture. Again, this was just to show the difference in that we can put multiple types within the project. And then our, linear fixtures, our smaller 1x4s as well. And so when we zoom in here, our fixtures are pretty much centered within this room. So we have our fixtures, again, pretty much centered within the room, meaning that we then need to choose kind of which direction we want the fixtures to go. And we left this choice up to the design team, or, basically having architecture snap the grid ultimately to the fixtures themselves. So, and again, everything is on a, 2-foot spacing, right? We're going to do an even number. So in this room, it happens to be, 6x8 spacing. And then in these smaller instruction rooms, we are, here's a 6-foot spacing by 10-foot spacing. And again, we're getting 40-foot candles in these rooms. And then, you know, shorter spacing in our corridors. So here we have our GFCIs. So we've got our GFCIs here, and let's take a cut plane and go look at how things are set. So again, we have our duplex GFCIs here. We have our aux sensor, right? And then our other GFCI. So if we took a look at our power plan, let's go look at the first floor power plan, which is where that device is. So we've got 2 GFCIs here, right? And so with that, when we go ahead and look at our elevation, so we've got everything at 4 feet, and then this is our standard duplex down at 18 inches. So if we look at this here, we can see, here's that duplex down at 18 inches, this GFCI at 4 feet, and then our switch right next to it. So got a switch here, GFCI as well, and those are at those heights and elevations. And then we can see that the default elevations of the fire alarm devices are basically above the ceiling. So, with that, we can move everything down to where they need to be within the project. But because this is a default elevation that's higher, those, got put up higher than they needed to be within the project. But now you can see all these are at the correct height for the project. and they're right next to the door in each of them. So we can look at our power plan. Here's, 2 receptacles evenly spaced on each wall. So in some cases, there might be a few more outlets than maybe we would like to see uh, when we use that 2 per wall spacing. Same here. And then in the corridor, we put 1 per wall. So it's going to be 1 centered on each wall through the corridor here. So again, in pretty good shape. And then like in our conference rooms, we did our 6 feet from the door and then 6 feet on center around the rest of the room. Right. And so even with the perimeter, it'll be there. Then the next piece that we have is no devices are going to be placed on curtain wall, right? So none of this, you're not going to have any devices that end up being placed on or hosted to curtain wall. So any devices that would need to be placed in here, right? If you really needed that 6 feet on center, you'd come back and put in your floor boxes to fill in that gap. And then, or any mullion devices, right? So anything, any switch, fire alarm device, receptacle that you would need within the mullion, you would need to put that device back in. Then our fire alarm device centered on the door wall. So for every door wall, they're in here. We can see that even here for the stair. Again, this is curtain wall, so no device placed there. And then to answer the question of, well, is it going to place on glass or anything like that? So here we have some windows. So let's go check this out. So here we have a whole bunch of windows and no devices were placed, on the window. All the light fixtures are hosted. So you can see those here where the light fixtures are hosted to the ceiling. Obviously, receptacles are hosted to the walls. You can see those here. And everything is placed into the model. So again, for all your kind of general purpose elements, those are all placed in here. Here's your occupancy sensors that are ceiling mounted. Again, nothing placed on any of the curtain wall in the cafeteria here. So we've got our receptacles, fire alarm device, a couple extra fire alarm devices. We need to make some choices as to where we want these to be placed, like within this room. Got our, ceiling mounted visual notification devices, 2 per wall. So anything that's under 2 feet of a wall distance, it's not going to put any devices on those, just for these like small wing walls that we might have. So if you would like anything on those smaller wing walls, you'll have to come back and place them. And again, we put 2 per wall in all of these spaces. So there you have it. And then again, fire alarm devices, outlets, spacing, aux sensors. We'll go through our lights, and then with sheets made simple, all the rooms got tagged, all of our views and sheets got set up. So we'll go ahead and look through these. Got our general notes, everything got named and numbered. And we'll go through this. There's 2 scope boxes in here, so everything got cropped to those views, as well as those view templates being applied. So again, most everything is in here that you would need. And if you want those offsets, right, for these devices to not be completely back to back, you'd come through and make those changes for however you'd want these devices to be offset. Now they were centered in the room, so they are equally spaced from one end to the next, right? So these are equally spaced. If I can actually join hole where the curtain wall is, so 8'11", it's pretty much evenly spaced across that wall. So that's how it's getting put in. But again, if you'd like, these offsets for your devices, then that's what you would need to ultimately do, so you don't have just one hole through the wall. That is Surfboard. And the next thing that I want to show you is going to be our riser diagram. So that combined with our AutoCircuit solution. So what we're looking at here is really we need some overall power plans. So what I'm going to end up doing here is selecting all the panels in view. We're going to rename these RP1 so that they have actual names. So RP1, and we'll name these panels. We'll apply a distribution system to all of them as well. And we'll do the same thing on the second floor. So RP2, so you can see all second floor panels. Obviously, this is not how you would name them traditionally, but it's going to give us a good example as we create our risers. So all these panels will be named RP2, and then we'll do the same thing for RP3. So you see the naming convention as we create our risers to show you just how our AutoRiser works. So obviously you'd go through and name these however you would, what your standard convention naming is. We're just putting in RP1, 2, and 3. We'll select all of the instances in the entire project, apply a distribution system to them so that those are all good. And now we're going to do a couple things. One is let's start with the riser. So right now you can see that we can choose all these values for the project. We can do it by rooms or spaces. So let's just go ahead and create rooms. And so it's going to create a drafting view of all the rooms in the project, or all the panels in the project. And we can see that here in our drafting view. So each time we create this, it will be new. So here's RP3, RP2, RP1. Nothing's connected to any of these panels, right? There's one a MCB, which we can go and correct this throughout. So this is the third floor. So we'll go ahead, select all the instances visible in view. And now we're going to apply some other things, right? So 42 circuits, we'll say that these are 150 amp panels, or 225, because that's the family that we have applied, and then 225 MCBs, right? And so that's everything on the third floor. Let's go to the second floor. And for all of these, again, this is not how you would design a project. Let me be clear on that. I'm just doing these for example purposes. So let's just say 150 here, and then I'll put 100 amp panels on the first floor, just so that we have 3 different things to look at. And so you can see the differences, between them. So 100 amp here and 100 amp here. And then we can go ahead and rerun our AutoRiser and create our new drafting view with everything in it. So again, this is kind of it's going to read it once, create the view, and then any subsequent views, you would need to delete this drafting view and create another one. So again, 150 on the second floor, 225s on the third floor, 100s on the first floor, right? So here we go. There's no AIC value, and then we'll just riser diagram -1. So we'll have these. And again, if you don't want to have some of this show up in your riser diagram, like maybe you don't want any of that information, you can choose to not see it. So it'll, again, not populate those in the riser. So riser diagram is over here. And again, none of that information was shown. So, and then as we start to connect things, we'll be able to do that as well. So go ahead, just delete this guy. Now, to start connecting things to your panels and then see, loads and all that kind of good stuff populate, we created AutoCircuit. So what AutoCircuit's going to do is going to circuit all the devices together in each room. This is really an order of operations thing. So if you have all your general purpose receptacles populated, you can run AutoCircuit to do that. And then as you add equipment, specialty equipment, microwaves, refrigerators, whatever else you might add, anything powered, anything specific, water fountains, what have you, then you can add those after the fact. So kind of an order of operations piece here in being able to create your panel schedules. And you can do these individually as well, right? To create all your panel schedules, to create all your panel schedule sheets, and then to have everything sorted together. So it's not looking at load calcs, all this will need to be reviewed and edited. You can see that 10 are overloaded. but 81 circuits got created, 6 sheets, 24 schedules created. And then you can see here that all of these receptacles, are circuited together on this internal room. So what we can then do is go ahead and pick our panel, right? And it's going to be here. Same thing here. We'll select our panel. Do this for a few of these so that there's some actual load on the project. And then with that, we'll be able to run AutoRiser again and see that loads are actually in this model. So AutoRiser's complete. Go ahead and check it out. So again, here's our RP1, 20 amps connected and 20 demand amps, right? There's no difference for these receptacles. So there you have it. There is AutoRiser, there is AutoCircuit, and all of our panel schedules were also created in this project, right? RP1, everything's named throughout, right? So RP1s, RP2s, and then RP3s. So everything's named and numbered throughout for you. And then as the last thing that I want to show you with our riser diagram is, let's go back to our first floor. So let's just close out everything but our first floor. So what we can do now is say that this panel is powered from here, right? Make sure that the right one is selected. So that's powered together. And then let's go back up to the third floor. Let's say that this panel is also powered from RP1. So what we'll do is create our riser diagram. We'll contain everything. And what we'll be able to then see is that the connection diagrams between the two are made, right? So RP3, RP1, right? Everything is connected between the two. So kind of shows you that these connections can be made between them. And let's take a look here because it's not connecting to the right one. So let's make sure that our RP3 is going to connect to the right RP1. So let's go down to the first floor. This is going to be, let's rename it so that we can circuit it correctly. RP1-1 makes it clear and unique. So RP1-1 and then power third floor plan. This guy, electrical circuit, RP1-1. Cool. So everything is circuited correctly. Go ahead and connect it. Take a look at our new riser diagram here. There are our two connection lines, right? So nothing got messed up in connecting, to the 7 other RP1s. So now RP1-1, unique name, and our connection lines are correct now going to the one panel. So, which goes to show you need to make sure that your lines are unique. And then because this is all text, if you choose to use a different text, you could do that as well. So 330 seconds. But there you have it. This will give you basically a full set of sheets. And then, if you wanted to, for this riser diagram, you'll be able to pull your drafting view right onto the sheet. And there you have it. So again, if you wanted to enlarge this or create a different size, anything like that, you're able to do it in Revit just like you would with anything else. So there you have it. There is AutoRiser, Surfboard, Sheets Made Simple, giving you pretty much everything you need to create a great set of design documents in no time at all. So thank you for watching. Go to kowabungastudios.com/products and you can check out Surfboard and get Sheets Made Simple, AutoRiser, and AutoCircuit with your investment in Surfboard.